How often should beginners lift weights? Here's the thing, most beginners either do too much too soon or they don't do enough. Now, my opinion is the optimal frequency for a beginner is 2 to 3 weight training sessions per week. And even when I say 2 to 3 sessions, I'm not talking an hour-long session. These sessions could be 30 minutes. Here's why. When you're new to lifting, your muscles haven't developed any kind of resilience, motor patterns. Your nervous system is learning entirely new movement patterns. Your connective tissue, your tendons, your ligaments, they adapt much more slowly than your muscles. Doing too much too soon is the number one cause of beginner injury and potential burnout. Now, 2 to 3 sessions per week gives you enough stimulus to trigger an adaptation, which leads to muscle growth and strength. It also allows enough time to give you recovery between the sessions. And that is where your body's going to adapt, grow, and repair. A great beginner approach for programming would be a full body approach, hitting all major muscle groups each session. So we're talking something like squats, hinge, push, pull, and carry patterns. Pick a rep range. It doesn't really matter. As long as you take those reps near or to failure. That's my opinion. That's how I work with my clients. Okay? Remember, you're giving the body a reason to adapt. And you can run that. So let's just say you do 30 minutes twice a week, which for me is the minimum. That's what I've advised potential clients who's coming on with me. And when clients start with me, that's how I start them off. 2 sessions, 30 minutes. That gives enough time for that recovery process. I'm able to push them to the right degree, but not push them too far because we've only got so much time. And then as we start to progress and I start to see, strength is going up there. And it could be that for some of the clients that I've worked with, you can actually see that if we're doing 30 minutes, that 30 minutes is appropriate for that time because by the end of the 30 minutes, they're gassed, they're done, they're completely wiped out. They want to fucking leave the gym. And organically, you will start to see that as people progress, that 30 minutes is no longer productive. You're always trying to feel like, I was just getting to that point, and if we had a little bit more time, it might have been a bit more beneficial. And that's the point where you can make the sessions longer, or you could put in a third session, right? That's how I work. So normally with almost all my clients, I will start 2 sessions per week. That's simply because I don't know what intensity they're used to, what's their strength. Once 2 sessions becomes obsolete, I would throw in a third session. And then once 3 sessions becomes kind of like, we need more, then I would say go for the hours. And then we would do 2-hour sessions. So we drop back now for the frequency. We spend a longer time in the session. And then once the 2 sessions, we get to that point where, again, it's like we're not getting enough, we get a third session in there. I would say in total, in terms of sessions per week, ideally, I would say a minimum of 2 sessions per week and a maximum of 4 sessions per week. That's weightlifting, okay? If you're throwing in cardio there, then that could be a different story. But I wouldn't say no more than 4 sessions per week. I hope that makes sense. As a beginner, start with 2 sessions, 30 minutes. Pick a rep range, it doesn't matter. Take those reps close to, if not to, failure. And when it feels right, just add frequency, so add another session. And once the frequency stops, so if you get to a maximum of 4, right, then drop the frequency back and then make longer sessions. That'd be my advice to a beginner and to program, okay? Just remember, whatever you're doing, there's no problem in taking things slow. I know today, everyone wants, results yesterday. I understand there's an urgency. I like the urgency because that means enthusiasm. That means that you want to attain these goals. But what I need people to understand, especially beginners, is everything you're doing has a purpose, okay? You don't need to go full steam ahead, right? Every step you do, you reap something from that, right? Now, if you go from step 1 all the way to step 10, you miss out 10 steps, okay? Those 10 steps, there's a lot of lessons to be learned there, not only by your body, by your nervous system, but also your mindset, okay? You cannot skip the 10 steps and just get to that point, okay? Everything you're doing has something that you can reap a reward from. So allow yourself that journey. I hope that makes sense.